All right, with that, it's 5:31 and we'll call this meeting of the Redwood Coast Transit Authority to order, and we will start with the roll call. Cool.
Director Smith,
Here.
Director Starkey,
Here.
Director Roberts,
Here.
Chairman Short.
Here. If you'll join me for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Ladies, we still have no public tuned in. Anybody other than the two public people. So I will forego public comment and skip down on our agenda today to item number 6, the Far North Transit Operators Cal ITP Contactless Regional Standard Fares Project presentation.
All right, thank you, Chair Short, and thank you to Zach Carson, who's with us from Cal ITP today. And thanks for waiting, Zach. Sorry about that. We got off to a little bit of a late start. Zach's gonna give us a quick presentation on the contactless fare integrated fares project. So that has been the first major project that our Far North group, which is comprised of Redwood Coast Transit, Humboldt Transit Authority, Trinity Transit, Mendocino, all the way down to Lake Transit, and even Sonoma County Transit joined some of the meetings. So this group's been working together on this, and Zach's going to give us an overview of what we've been doing.
Very good. Welcome, Zach.
Thank you, Joe. Thanks everyone for having me. My name is Zach Carson. I'm with the California Integrated Travel Project, and it's an honor to talk to you all today. And it's been exciting to work with you all, with Joe and others from the Far North group on this exciting project. So I'll go through some slides here. Feel free to interrupt with any questions or ask questions at the end if you have any. So this fare modernization and integration project is a regional effort to both modernize fare collection and to align and to simplify fares among the Far North group transit providers that are listed here and which Joe listed for you just now. The objective of this project is primarily focused on improving the customer experience of riding transit. And the scope of the project really encompasses 3 separate buckets. So the first is reliable and accurate bus arrival information. And that is done by publishing general transit feed specification, schedule, and real-time data. The second is offering riders the ability to pay their fare using a bank card or a mobile wallet. And this is a standalone contactless fare payment system that'll be added to fixed route vehicles on top of existing fare payment mechanisms. So this is not replacing existing fare payment mechanisms. It's simply another additional way to pay. And the third component is simplifying the fare structure across all agencies so that they're aligned, and providing fare capping to ensure that customers always get the best fare when they pay using the contactless fare payment system. So the benefits of contactless fare payment are pretty well established at this point from some of the large projects that have taken place from London to New York City. And now here in California, Cal ITP has launched demonstration projects in Monterey, Sacramento, and Santa Barbara. And really, to summarize some of the benefits for riders and for transit providers, there's contactless payment will lead to increased system ridership and rider satisfaction. It reduces the dwell times for vehicles, which has a positive impact on both greenhouse gas emissions and on travel times. It eventually will lower the fare collection costs by reducing some of the need to process cash. And there's greater accessibility for low-income riders through fare capping. They no longer have to have the upfront cash available to purchase a monthly pass. And the contactless payment system offers more robust ridership information, which is collected automatically through the fare payment devices. And so Cal ITP has helped to facilitate a memorandum of understanding between the Far North Group transit providers, which established an agreement to move towards a distance-based fare structure. And then through further conversations, the group analyzed a few different options for a distance-based fare structure that would be acceptable to all of the transit providers. So we looked at 3 different options primarily. There was a base rate with $1 per mile. There was a zone-based structure, and then a tiered distance-based fare structure. The group eventually decided that option 3 was best aligned with the objectives of all the agencies and was most likely to, or most easily able to reach consensus around a unified fare structure. So this next slide really is the meat of the proposal and the meat of the project. What is shown here in this table is that tiered distance-based fare structure. However, the plan to implement this is not to do it immediately, but rather to start with the promotional $1 contactless fare for all of the routes for the first 6 months of the project. And this is to encourage riders to try the new contactless fare payment method and for transit agencies to gather information on ridership. So following this promotional period, all of the Far North Group transit providers will have much more robust data around the use of the different routes and the ridership and the use of the new fare payment method. And they'll have an opportunity then to move toward a tiered distance-based fare structure as is shown here. This table here will be the baseline for implementation, and the data that's collected during the 6-month promotional period will be used to refine this table further. Also, following this initial 6-month period, a $50 monthly fare cap promotion will be introduced to riders. So for the first 6 months, there will be no fare cap. With a $1 contactless fare, it would be very difficult to reach a fare cap anyway. And then after that second 6-month period with a $50 monthly fare cap, then more permanent or long-term fare caps will be set using the data that's generated during those first 12 months. So in terms of procuring the hardware and software that's necessary to set this system up, Cal ITP has launched a statewide master services agreement procurement for both the hardware and the software service providers that are needed to stand up a contactless fare payment system. Currently, we're in the evaluation process, and awards will be announced soon. There will be 3 hardware vendors and 4 back-end fare calculation software vendors, and there are 2 payment processing vendors available for local agencies to procure from the state, competitively procured state contracts. And so this Cal ITP will also provide technical support to the local agencies in terms of vendor selection and the signing of user agreements with vendors. And most or all of the state and federal funding sources would be eligible for use for those contracts. And finally, just to show you an indicative project timeline here, the contracts are expected to be available toward the end of this year or the beginning of next year. We've already started preparing for procurement with the various Far North Group transit providers. And then we are targeting March of next year to launch the $1 promotional contactless fares once the procurement and implementation of devices and software has been completed. As shown, there's a 6-month demonstration period. Also during that period, we'll be doing promotions, marketing to educate riders about the new contactless payment method. And then after that 6-month period, there will be the $50 monthly cap promotion, as well as the launch of the fare table that was shown on a previous slide. And then starting in starting in March of 2023, there will be the launch of the long-term capping products. And so this is an indicative timeline. We hope that the contracts will be available in just a few weeks, but it may be beginning of January when those are available, and Cal ITP will be working hard to support Redwood Coast as well as the other transit agencies to make sure that they're able to utilize those contracts and move quickly with the procurement and implementation. So with that, I am happy to take any questions that you all might have. I'm gonna take or maybe I'll leave this up just in case you want to flip back to any slides, but that concludes the presentation. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Zach. Val, do you
I have a question. And you may have said it and I may not have caught it, but so this, the $1 contactless fare trial period, if they pay cash, they pay the regular rate. Is this just for those who are wanting to use their contactless payment?
That is correct.
Okay, and then that leads me to my second question is that, and I'm sure this is all in the study and this is not being a naysayer, but I just wanted to, when there's often a charge for using credit cards, and that was all factored in, that it still is going to be a benefit overall to using this form of a payment when people use a credit card.
Yeah, that's right. So there is a small payment processing fee that the merchant, which in this case would be the transit agency, will have to pay for each transaction. However, the cost associated with cash is actually significantly more when you factor in the labor and the need for trucks and counting the cash and managing the cash. So as we've seen, agencies transitioning away from cash towards digital payment, see operational savings. It may not be immediate, but eventually the savings associated with less cash are significant.
Thank you for a very thorough presentation.
Is it? Any questions? No. Zach, the three options that were explored seem to be all kind of mileage based. I mean, even the one that's zone based still seems to be based on a miles. Was there any discussion about a time based fare? Like like an Italian public transit system, you get on pay or €1.50 and you get 4 hours worth of ride time on the local system. So I was just wondering if anything kind of like that was discussed.
No,
Sorry.
that was not explored. We really focused on distance-based because we thought that was both simplest for riders to understand, and B, simplest for transit providers to implement. And it also makes it easier to sort of associate the revenue coming in with the operating cost of operating that route. So there's a natural connection there between the cost of the fare and the cost to operate the route.
Okay, thank you.
I do have a question now that you
ahead.
asked that. Have you done a rate study on the difference between what Director Short asked, meaning time versus mileage? Because I mean, maybe the customer might be getting a little more bang for their buck one way or the other, but we also have to worry about meeting our bottom line as well, right?
Yeah, no, we have not done that type of detailed analysis. And so I think that one of the objectives of this promotional period will be to gather the information that would be needed to do that type of analysis. So the table that was shown is indicative preliminary table that we'll, you know, use all of the data that we get during this promotional period to then figure out how a change in fares would impact the bottom lines of the various agencies, and also to see how customers respond.
Thank you.
All right, well, there's no more questions. We'll just thank you again, Zach, for a great presentation. I appreciate you being here and sorry for the late start.
No problem. Thank you all very much.
Thanks, Zach.
There is still no, ladies, there's still no other public tuned in. Okay, so we'll recognize that there's no public with us in this meeting and forego public comment on this item. So we will back up on our agenda and move to the consent calendar, which is 4A, award Cultural Center Transit Hub Planning Element to Green Dot Transportation Solutions, and 4B, declare 2 retired CTA buses as surplus and direct general manager to dispose of the buses.
I move to approve the consent calendar.
We have a motion to approve. We have a second,
I'll second it.
and we have a second. Seeing again, no public. Do you have a comment, Bo?
What, can I pull 4A
Certainly.
just for discussion?
So, yep. We will go ahead with polling the vote for 4B on the consent calendar. Nicole?
Director Starkey,
Yes.
Director Smith,
Yes.
Director Roberts,
Yes.
Chairman Short.
Yes. Okay, well, what did you want to discuss about 4A?
Just a little bit how it works. I was a little confused about how exactly that's gonna work. Transit hub planning element, yeah.
Which part of it? How it's awarded, or who pays for it, or?
Yeah, mostly who pays for it.
Well, the Transportation Commission has awarded the $30,000
Okay,
to complete the project, 10,000 of it being the planning
all right.
portion. So that is where the $10,000 comes from for that part of the project. So we'll get the planning out of the way, and then hopefully we'll move on to construction. And
Basically a terminal there at the cultural center, correct?
or somewhere very.
Well, the planning part's gonna look at 2 or
But-
3 locations near there and then look for any available potential office space, because it's kind of 2 paths we can go on, and that's what the planning part wants to walk us through so that we take the right path. Is it best to find a permanent spot to bring some sort of mobile kiosk to every day and set up there and make that our transit center? Vis-a-vis, is there another location that happens to be pretty decent that we could lease space and create a new deal without building much else?
But yeah, I know we've talked about it. I just,
Mhm.
I'm cool. Thank you
Okay.
very much.
All right, thank you.
I'll-
And Nicole, if you would make a note that council member or board member Altman is with us now, I appreciate that. Ray, we're discussing, we just pulled one 4A off the consent calendar for discussion. So we'll be going to vote on that item right now.
I'll make a motion to approve and pass 4A.
Thank you both. We have a second,
I'll second.
and we have a second. Okay, Nicole, if you pull the vote, please.
Looks like there's a question from the public, from Tamara.
Do we have a? We have a,
Hi,
oh, very good.
I just
Public
wanted,
comment.
I just wanted to add some clarity.
Very good. Tamara, go right ahead.
So the fund source, this work is funded in the Local Transportation Commission's overall work program through 2 fund sources. One of the fund sources is for planning only, and the second fund source is more flexible. And so this contract covers the work. I highly recommend Green Dot Transportation Solutions for this work but it's in my work program. But in order to move the work forward, it's really a transit project that the Transportation Commission is assisting with. So I wanted to add some clarity to the planning component, because $10,000 of that work is dedicated to planning. The planning component could be more than 10,000, but if it's less than 10,000, that funding doesn't jump over into the preliminary engineering work that's needed to be done. So Joe and I are working together on this. I think we have a good collaboration and communication, and we're ready to move this forward and finish it up by June 30th.
Very good, Tamara. Thank you very much. And I apologize. I did on my screen. I could not tell that you were with us today. I appreciate that very much. So Nicole, with that, will you pull the vote for item 4A?
Yes. Director Smith,
Yes.
Director Altman,
Yes.
Director Roberts,
Yes.
Director Starkey,
Yes.
Chairman Short.
And yes. With that, we will move on to approval of the minutes of the October 25th, 2021 RCTA board meeting.
I'll move to approve the minutes from the October 25th, 2021 RCTA board meeting.
I'll second that.
We have a motion and a second. Is there any public comment on our minutes? With that, Nicole, would you pull the vote?
Director Roberts,
Yes.
Director Altman,
Yes.
Director Smith,
Yes.
Director Starkey,
Yes.
Chairman Short.
Yes, thank you very much. Okay, we'll move to, well, we already went over item 6 and and we'll move on to item 7, 2021 transit maintenance and operations request for proposals and award a contract to First Transit Incorporated. Joe?
All right. Thank you, Chair Short. This item is the culmination of about 4 months in a row that we've been meeting and working this procurement through its process, from putting the draft together, vetting it with the transit contracting industry, getting it on the street, eventually issuing a couple of addenda, having pre-bid conferences, and ultimately we received 1 proposal from our incumbent. So that's not ideal. When we did this 5 years ago, we were fortunate to receive 3 proposals. Same process though. I did the same outreach. What's different is the pandemic's a little different. I was unable to go to any conferences to personally face-to-face schmooze the industry, but we made up for it with Zoom calls and particularly, reached out. We had six firms participated in the pre-bid, which was a positive, but ultimately 5 of them chose not to propose. Probably a lot of it is the current environment, nationally with the labor shortage and stuff, plus the fact that we've had First Transit now for nearly 20 years. So, they realize that they're doing a good job here. So the proposal was received. It was scored by our selection committee, which was made up of Tamara, who's on the call today, myself, Suresh Ratnam from Caltrans Division District 1, and then Ray Altman and Darren Short from our board. The group looked at the proposals and scored it highly as a responsive proposal, and then directed staff to take the lead on negotiating the best and final offer and getting some responses to some questions that the selection committee had. And those have been put together. They're in your packet as an attachment. Both the responses from First Transit to the questions, as well as the best and final pricing packet. So staff recommends that we do proceed with this. We've talked in consultation closely with our attorney. There's no requirement to get more than 1 proposal. Obviously, we would love that, but it didn't happen in this case. We feel that this is a good, solid proposal. First Transit was very responsive to the priorities and needs of the board and staff. We wanted to see the wages addressed in a permanent fashion. I think they did a solid job of that. They incorporated the new position that does the bus cleaning into their organization, as they talked about. And, and accordingly, the prices are, quite a bit higher than the old contract, but that includes these $4 an hour and hazard pay that we've already been paying a month. So that's all rolled under one contract now. So it's not really that much higher than what we're paying today. It just seems like it. I think some of the highlights, First Transit has some competitive advantage up here because they have their Reading operation that they support us from, as well as some larger ones in the Bay Area and Portland. So we've seen some of those advantages during some of our trials and things we went through the last few years. We borrowed drivers from other properties. We've had temporary GMs in here when we've had a vacancy. So First has done a good job of supporting this very remote location. So staff recommends that we enter a new contract with them for 5 years.
Very good. So our action item on this is to ratify that as the board.
Yeah, there's resolution 21-2203 that awards the contract to them. Yep, that's in your packet. So we need an approval on that.
There it is.
Make a motion that we adopt resolution 2021-22-03, awarding the 2022 to 2026 RCTA operations and maintenance contract to First Transit and authorizing the general manager to execute all contract documents.
Second.
Board. Thank you very much, Board Member Starkey, and second by Mr. Altman. Appreciate that. Is there any public comment on this item? Not seeing any public comment. Will you poll the vote, Nicole?
Director Altman,
Yes.
Director Roberts,
Yes.
Director Starkey,
Yes.
Director Smith,
Yes.
Chairman Short.
Yes. Thank you very much for that. Okay, moving on to agenda item number 8 is discussion of board meeting days and times for calendar year 2022 and in-person format with Zoom option.
Is it does the Brown Act affect us on choosing Zoom as an option? That's what I thought.
It's not the Brown Act, it's a different.
Autumn, would you like to
Yeah.
explain it for us?
It
Yeah,
does
that'd be
actually,
great.
and there's been some changes there. So others of you who are on other boards may see some language come forward to allow for board members themselves to continue to appear via Zoom. And that requires that there be a finding made that it's in the best interest of the board members and the public to keep a Zoom option open for board members. To have the public here doesn't require that same resolution, that same finding. So keeping it open for the public to appear via Zoom is okay. If the board wants to discuss having board members still appear via Zoom, then we could bring that language forward at the January meeting.
Yeah, I think that'll be our next meeting.
So Jazz, if one of the board members had a situation where they had a particularly fragile family member or something and didn't want to expose themselves, that kind of idea is what would give us the leeway to have a board member remotely attend.
Yeah,
Is it kind of that's just one example.
that's one example. And I think that, the way that the law has changed gives us the language we need to, it doesn't have to be super specific. You don't need to get into details about board members' needs, but
Okay.
a general finding of the necessity for the well-being, the health and well-being of the board members is required. And so, like I said, if the board wants to have that as an option, we can bring that language forward in January.
I certainly like the idea of having the hybrid meetings for public participation. We've got a lot of public participation in all of our committee meetings since we started the Zoom world or the Microsoft Teams world. So I appreciate that and would certainly like to continue that, but
I just want some clarification. So to have a hybrid Zoom, we don't have to do anything for the public, but for the board members. So let's say that we have this special requirement in place. We have to still post our location. Is that correct? If I choose to be by Zoom for the next meeting in January, I still have to give my address where I'm located and open up my home. Is that correct?
That's not correct.
Okay.
No, if we make the finding as required, then that part of the Brown Act that it used to be that the Brown Act said you can appear from somewhere else, but you have to post your agenda there.
Okay.
And you now are having a meeting there. If it's your house, your hotel room, a coffee shop, and that was a possibility. We've now gone back to that reality unless we make this specific finding as required by the now changed law.
Okay. And
So
do you
yeah,
know,
the law's not going to have you make that finding and then invite people into your home anyways. So there's a workaround now.
okay. Do you know of any of our local boards that are doing that have had this in place where they're still meeting by Zoom because of this special order?
Which
I
one?
think that, I know that my advisory redistricting commission made that finding. I believe that maybe tri-agency did it for 1 month, but then didn't continue it for the following
Tri-agency.
month.
We met in person. We
Right.
decided to meet
Yeah.
in person. Our last meeting was in person.
Yeah,
But,
it's not an all or nothing. You can make
Transportation
the
Commission. we have
Okay.
Finding as well.
I don't know. It just seems like if we're gonna brace technology for the public viewers at home, it sure would be nice. I know that I can't speak for the rest of the board here, but I know sometimes that 5:15 is extremely hard for me to make. I'll formally apologize to you guys. But that option would be nice, just in my opinion.
Yeah, unfortunately, it's not a convenience issue. I mean,
Mhm.
I think we'd all like to have it as a for convenience, but the way that the law is written, it really does have to be about public health, the health of the board.
Okay.
And so, I can send around, or we can have this discussion in greater detail at the next meeting, to really kind of explore what that
So-
looks like if we wanted to do that.
Yeah, I'll just say I prefer Zoom, but I don't see how we can do Zoom. So that's just, I love being just at home, being able to do these meetings, but I don't think that's our reality right now. So.
I don't think
Yeah, I
anybody
mean,
can disagree with you there.
I'm talking like emergency situation, somebody like, you got something going on at home, you cannot physically get down here, but you could attend the meeting from home. I just think that option sure would be nice, just in case.
Talk to your legislator.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah, we're just-
the Brown Act has always contemplated that board members would be in one place and in person. And, I think there's good public policy reasons for that. So this, I don't want to call it a workaround, but this change to the law that allows for a public health option. The government is trying to make it more convenient for board members, unfortunately.
Yeah, it's
Just the public, correct?
An option to have the public call in has always been there. We just haven't used it. I mean, until COVID, it just wasn't standard practice for us to offer it here, although in other places it was. It's always been available to have the public come remotely via telephone or whatnot.
Yeah, we had COVID run through our house, hit us pretty mildly. And we had a board meeting, a county board of supervisors meeting during that time. I felt fine. Of course, I couldn't come. And I zoomed into the meeting, but I could not participate.
Well, I did the
because
same
that
thing
was,
Monday night.
was one of the rules. So
That's right.
Yeah.
it's an odd time to be in
Matter
the
of fact, I just,
public eye. But I guess with this item discussing this option, what I'm hearing is we're not finding a real reason to meet remotely. if I'm mistaken, somebody stop me. I'm not hearing anybody that's,
I want you guys to keep in mind that that might change for you in,
certainly.
you know, if Chair Short contacts Joe or me in a month and things have changed dramatically, we can put it on the next agenda. So for today, obviously all 5 of you are here. In January, if things have changed substantially, we can look at it then.
Then that language you're talking about goes on the agenda and it's discussed at that time.
Yeah.
Is that what you're saying?
So, yeah, the way that the law works is you have to put it on every agenda if you're going to keep using it. You have to make the finding every month if you're going to keep using it. So if you guys decide, let's go back to doing Zoom, you know, we can bring it at any time. We don't know what's going to happen with COVID-19, and I'm not Dr. Stutz, so.
Right.
Yeah, and Darren, thanks for messaging me. I only asked about the Zoom option because I realized I was dumb and I wasn't monitoring my calendar during my vacation. So I was teaching my oldest boy how to shuck crab, and we're about to have a crab feed. So I've completely overlooked it. Sorry.
No, that's okay. Appreciate you showing up.
But for this item, you guys want to know if you're going to still meet on the fourth Monday at 5:15.
Yeah, this item kind of is short and sweet as it is. It kind of addresses 2 things. At the last meeting, I think at the end, if I recall, Director Berkowitz asked if we could take another look at the day and time that we meet. And I'm like, yeah, we also need to take a look at this whole hybrid Zoom thing. So I'll put something together for you guys. So that's what this is. As far as the day and time, he's not here today, but I did talk with the folks in the clerk's office now that we're, back here at Flynn, which is great. So nothing's changed since 2 years ago when we addressed this, and that's when we selected the 4th Monday at 5:15, because it's in between it's right after LAFCO, which is a meeting that at the time we had crossover board members that were on LAFCO. I don't know if we do today, but so that's still in place. So 5:15 still works, and Friday's still wide open. We could also go much earlier in the day at like 1:30 to 3:30 on Mondays. But I just caution that I think we have folks that work during the day. So I want you guys to talk about that, because I don't know that it's a good idea to go earlier.
Is there anybody that has any angst with leaving the 4th Monday at 5:15 in place?
The 4th Monday is good.
The 4th Monday is great. I'm just, and I'll go with the majority on this. If you guys are cool with it, I'm cool with it. That'd be great. But 5:30 would be a lot more helpful to me. But if you guys want to keep it at 5:15 again, I'll go with the majority on that. It's not a make or break deal for me.
Well, in the past, it used to be 1:15.
1:15?
1:30. Yeah.
Who's speaking?
This is Fernando speaking.
Oh, hi, Fernando.
Okay, thanks for that. Like, where'd that come from? Who is that? Yeah, the times have moved around over time, and they've been mostly during the day, but yeah, out of deference to folks working, we moved it to 5:15 a couple of years ago. But 5:30 would work for
Yeah,
staff. I'll
certainly
support
recognize
whatever
a
the board
couple of
wants to
people
do.
that are
I'm fine with
working.
that.
Yeah, 5:30 is fine with me. I'm whatever the majority wants, I'm. good
Yeah,
with.
I'm with the majority. If they want to keep it at
But if
5:15, I
we've got
will
one
too.
person that
Yeah,
has a need, I
5:30
think
is
I
not that big a
can
change to
comply.
me. I'm certainly.
And I only fill in for Supervisor Berkowitz. And so I'll just say that 5:30 works for him as well.
What about you?
Ray, what do you think?
Oh, I love 5:30.
5:30 is good? Well, there we go. What do you?
All right, sounds like we got consensus. So the next meeting then will be, where's my calendar? So it'll be 5:30 then on Monday, the technology. It hates me. That'll be the 24th.
24th of January.
January, yeah.
There we go.
So we don't have one in December because that obviously.
No, we're gonna get a month off.
So it'll be the 24th, correct?
24th of January is our next meeting. Yep. Okay. Got consensus on that. Moving on down the agenda, looking at where am I? Cultural Center Hub Project. Discussion of mobile kiosk option versus leasing space downtown.
All right, this item, yeah, it's very similar to, it's actually kind of to check you guys' pulse and get preliminary thoughts that we'll convey to the planning folks that we just awarded them the little contract. To give them some initial feedback from the board, then they'll come back with some information on both options and we'll update you guys maybe at the July or at the January 24th meeting. What's going on with this is this project that we've been working on now for a couple of years to try to develop a staffed presence down at our main transit transfer center, which is currently along Front Street, just east of the cultural center right now on the eastbound direction. You heard from Tamara, so she's been great. She programmed the funding to get this project off the ground. After her and I and John Olson from the city talked quite a bit before we even really had a project last year, just trying to talk about what the city might support and what our needs are as a transit agency and some issues with the current facility. A lot of this, the genesis of this was when we did a lot of market research at the start of our short range plan a couple of years ago, and security at the cultural center scored low and was shown as a problem for the agency. In addition, we already were struggling with the inability to sell. Our pass sales is suppressed because to buy a bus pass, you either got to slow up the route and pay cash. The drivers keep a few with them. So you can buy it when you get to the fare box, but that's a slow, tedious process. And that route's going to probably be late for the rest of the 25 minutes. Or you have to come to our office, which is kind of off the beaten path there at the fairgrounds. So this would solve that and bring ticket sales and information and customer service face to face right there where everyone's at, where the buses transfer and meet every half hour. So one of the paths or sort of the crossroads with this is, do we want to build up a permanent location like a bus stop where we're at now, that we can maybe bring a mobile kiosk to, something that leaves every day or that can be towed back and forth between our yard and there to house the staff and to open the windows and deal with the public? Or do we want to look for some sort of, if we could find some appropriate office space in that general area that would have room for buses nearby to keep an eye on them, but yet look out the window and it'll be very approachable and adjacent, so that people could come in and buy tickets or ask questions or perhaps even use restrooms. So those are kind of the two pathways. Should we find a permanent outdoor spot down by there where we can bring a vehicle or a ticket booth on a trailer perhaps, versus lease an office space? So the planning consultant's going to look at both, but we just wanted to kind of get some feedback from the board as we're kicking this off. What do you guys think? Any strong opinions one way or the other, or anything we should consider in the analysis?
Any input from the board?
I do have a question. Will they be dealing with cash purchases? And what kind of a security system would you have to protect the employees that are there?
Good question. I think the answer is yes. I mean, as much as we want to go contactless and use plastic only, I think our ridership is still a cash culture. So yeah, they would need to handle cash and would need to be secure enough that, that they would be safe and money would be secured during the day. Yeah, that's definitely a consideration.
So of course, my druthers would be to have a nice little downtown area where buses can park. And but I don't know if that's going to really be feasible. But if this feasibility study locates a place, we certainly should go that option. I think the kiosk being driven in every day and then driven out every day, if that's something that's workable for First Transit, is that who would be doing it, right?
Yes.
Then that would work, right? We've been doing that with the mobile vaccination and testing sites. It seems to work. Even maybe not even a kiosk as much as it is the buses like they have for the, not a bus, but it's like a van that could work. But I would love to see a nice area, bus stop that's the main hub kind of thing. I would really love to see that. But I just don't know if that's feasible.
Yeah, kind of beyond, I mean, it's great to have the planning and engineering money that we got, but beyond that, we are gonna be dipping into a pot of money that we need for every other reason too. So yeah, it's not like we're sitting on $1 million to build this project. But yeah, it would be, so certainly cost will be a factor when they're analyzing each location and how much work it might need to get off the ground. And we'll need to be looking at it when we're deciding what kind of a kiosk to have. You know, we could repurpose one of our older buses and fix it up. Like, or we could buy a purpose-built vehicle, which is probably more expensive, or some sort of towable kiosk on a trailer. So I think there's a variety of ways we could do it, but yeah, costs are gonna be, you know, they're gonna be a factor.
What about,
Go ahead, Bill.
what about an electric kiosk, a electronic kiosk that it's not manned with a person? And that is something that could be done at the cultural center. And that is one person to empty that cash out of that machine and restock that a day. I mean, you just cut movement. You cut a lot of moving parts out.
Like an ATM type machine, but like where you buy your tickets.
Absolutely. And if it's something, I mean, with just like any bank machine, you know, you can log in, you can draw money out of the bank, you can log in and see how much money you've taken out during the week or whatever. Something that we could do, he could do, anybody could do, any daily employee could log in. How many tickets are still available in the kiosk? How much is the kiosk brought in? And I think it would cut costs on rent because you're going by a small, basically ATM machine.
Yeah.
Just a thought, but
No, I like that. We should, I'll ask them to take a look at that because you're right. I mean, it doesn't meet every objective, but it would help with the vending of the tickets, which would be great. And then we'd have to find out how often the cash would need to be collected and, you know, because if we have cash in there, it's probably a risk, you know, depending on where it is. But yeah, we'll have them definitely look at that.
even at like Surf Apartments, don't they have a day room? And what's next door? Is that a barber shop next door still, or what is that?
Used to be, yeah.
So is it a day room now?
Mhm.
So the Surf Apartments is another, I mean, it's right next to the post office. It's right by Front Street, right in the middle of downtown. You've got Crescent Island Apartments. I mean, you've got a lot of your riding demographic in that area, just my opinion.
Right, and if the city ever goes forward and uses the Bank of America building for their city hall, I mean, you certainly could have an area in City Hall for the kiosk too.
Absolutely.
But I don't know where they're at with that.
Good points. Ray, you got any comments on this?
Bo read my mind. I was thinking the same thing as, you know, just like if you go to Washington, DC, you ride the light rails underground and all that stuff. You don't ever see a person or anything, but I think every other station or so has an information person. So I don't know what the goal of the kiosk is. If there's questions to be answered, or if simple schedules could be put inside the cultural center and they can kind of provide that help. I don't know if they would be willing to do that, like the other flyers they have in there or whatever, or if that's even manned anymore. I don't know, but yeah, the automatic kiosk seems the way to go. But if you do one where you drive it in every day, can we sell hot dogs too?
Well, I was thinking coffee. Seriously.
I do have one
Coffee,
more
hot
question.
dogs.
Sorry, Ray.
No.
I do have one more question about that electronic kiosk, and I wouldn't even know where to begin to ask. But because it's not manned, public health wise, would that qualify for any sort of, yeah, exactly. That you said it right there.
It might fit into the contactless type area that.
Yeah, you're right. It might fit into the whole theme of contactless to reduce interaction.
Slippery slopes because we start taking jobs away, right? And so we don't necessarily want to do that. But at the same time, you got to kind of weigh all of your benefits. And
Somebody still has to work
a
on
good
that
question, yeah.
machine.
And also,
Yeah,
I
there's-
know you wanted to secure the Front Street area because you got a lot of public comment regarding the clients not feeling safe down there.
Yeah.
What's the response time when they do have issues down there for police?
It's a good question. I don't have that information. I think it's.
Would you like me to answer that, Joe? This is Fernando.
Yes, please.
So it really depends on the time of day. So between 7 o'clock and 5 o'clock, they're within 5 minutes. But if like after 5 o'clock, that's when the sheriff department gets really lean on their employees that they have available. It could go from 5 minutes to an hour. So it varies after 5 o'clock. But they're pretty quick there during the day, which is peak hours of bus operations.
Thank you, Fernando.
Thanks,
It's
Fernando.
helpful.
Well, Front Street would be city PD, correct?
Yeah. But it's kind of the same, so. Well,
It's
still,
been a
I
good
guess-
discussion. I think we're ready to kick off the
Yeah.
planning study. Yeah, there's no decision needed or anything here today. We've gotten
Yeah,
some
and
excellent
I think
feedback.
some of the metrics we've talked about in the past was actually having a person to ask questions of the writers would have. So, but that's just one aspect of it. I mean, that's the contactless, vending machine kind of idea could probably meet a lot of our other objectives. So definitely something that the consultant can look into for us for sure. So
We could also look into a kiosk that might have like a phone that automatically connects to a dispatch person over at the transit hub. That way, if they do have a question, they can just pick up the phone and bam.
That is actually an excellent idea. And I've seen those. You can definitely drop the mic on that one.
we just had the member of our public make comment. Thank you, Nicole. That was a good point. That was beautiful. Okay, with that, still no other members of the public tuning in, I trust. Okay, so we'll dispose with public comment, being there is no public, and move on to item number 10, adopt resolution 2021-22-02, approving the purchase order 2021-22-07 to Creative Bus Sales for purchase of 3 replacement buses for RCTA local and regional services.
I motion to approve.
We have a motion to approve and a second. Is there any discussion? No discussions or public comment? Obviously, there's no public, so we will go ahead and poll the board.
Director Smith,
Yes.
Director Starkey,
Yes.
Director Altman,
Yes.
Director Roberts,
Yes.
Chairman Short.
Yes. Made that easy for you, Joe, didn't we? All right. All right, moving on to
Not gonna argue with you.
item number 11, operations report.
Fernando, I think you're up again.
Fernando?
Yeah, I think Fernando gives us the operations report if he's still with us.
Yeah, I'm still with you.
Good deal. Now you're going to talk and we'll know who you are.
So operations, we're doing good. I did get notice today that we have one employee that is resigning due to some family issues that he has to resolve. His last day will be on the 30th. We do have one in training, so it'll be a wash as far as that goes. Buses are doing great. Nick's been awesome at keeping all the buses up and running. Staff is doing a wonderful job staffing the levels, especially since, last Thursday, I am out due to all of my kids coming up positive on COVID. So I want to give a thanks to the team and thanks to Joe for all the help that has been given. That's the report for First Transit.
Well, very good. Fernando, any questions from the board for Fernando? All right, we'll move right along to general manager's report.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you,
Thanks,
Fernando, and get well soon. So yeah, the general manager's report. Thank you guys for entertaining a pretty busy, and I do apologize for the late packets this weekend. We had a rough week last week that included the death of our dog, and it's just been a tough week in the Rye household. So anyway, sorry about the late thing. I think it's all going to end up okay. But yeah, we didn't give you as much time to read your packets as we should, and I do apologize for that. One thing I wanted to mention, what was it? We're talking, we've been reaching out to the airport, the Crescent City Airport, after we got an inquiry from the public about, could we provide some service to the current flight schedules that are there? So there's a morning departure in the early morning, and then there's an arrival in the early evening. And actually I started, it's one of those things like, wow, we probably could. So it's feasible relatively cheaply for us to do so, because we're starting our morning dollar ride right about that time. So we could just start a little earlier and go to the airport if there's any reservations, so we could market it at the airport. And then in the afternoon, we have a Route 20 bus going right by there that's on its way home for the night. So it's very feasible that we could do something. But first we wanted to, so the first step was to see how it might work on paper, and Fernando and I have been working on that. So it could work. So the next step is to talk to the airport folks and see if they support it and if we can help market it out there. And that's where we've been having trouble finding someone. So we were wondering if Darren or Valerie, or if someone could maybe arrange some sort of meeting so we could talk to the airport manager about this and what we might need to do to safely make it happen and get started.
Yeah, we actually just appointed a new airport manager just a couple of weeks ago. So he's probably still, up to right about here, trying not to drown.
Yes.
But certainly I think we could probably get in contact with him.
And I just want to say, I love that idea because it's free to park there, right? But sometimes people don't want to leave their cars there for, 10 days, 12 days. So I love this idea and I hope that it's successful. And the gentleman's name is Justin Cooley. I believe it's Justin Cooley. Ryan or Justin Cooley.
Ryan Cooley.
But like Darren said, he was just appointed last week or the week before. So I'm sure he's just in his learning curve.
Okay, that's great. It's a good time to meet him then. So yeah, that'll be good. So if you guys can maybe put us together by email or get us a phone number, we'll take it from there. But we haven't had much luck stopping out there to catch somebody. So that explains it.
Okay. Yeah, we can do that. He's so new. I don't have his contact information, but we'll make it happen.
All right, thank you guys.
Okay.
You guys are the best.
All right.
That's basically it for me. That's it for the GM's report. I'll answer any questions if you have any.
Any questions from the board for Joe? Okay, moving on to announcements. Anybody for the good of the order?
Did Daphne ever reach out to you? She said she was gonna.
Yes.
And
Yes, she did.
has that went anywhere or?
That was actually part of Daphne's, was the entity that was looking for one of our surveyed buses. So.
So we're working on that. So item 4B declared 2 more buses as surplus because we had, and this is a sad story too, but I'll try to make it brief. So we had a couple of years ago, just before the pandemic, we approved 5 buses for disposal, and then I didn't get them done. And then the pandemic hit and I forgot, basically I didn't do my job. We didn't get rid of them. They've been around. One of those is actually still pretty good, and 2 more have been added to the boneyard. So we just had you guys approve the other 2 to be disposed today. And then what I was going to suggest, I think it's in the staff report, but so that we can get that bus out there so Daphne can bid on it, we'll do a notice of availability for bids and get that going for the first bus. And then there's a couple more, the 2 that are fairly recently retired. They probably also have some value, but our mechanic needs to take time with each one to get our stuff off of it, pull our graphics off of it. So we wanted to go one at a time with 283, which is, the bus that Daphne's very interested in. And then we have a couple more maybe in the early spring, mid-spring that we could get rid of that way. But there's 4 of them that are so dilapidated, we're going to have to pay to get rid of them. So we can use the proceeds from the others to pay for the carcasses that can't be, you know,
All right.
at
Yeah,
a
I just-
negative value.
Yeah, and the reason for the question, I just didn't want to make sure she was put off. She's been really patient with,
No, I agree.
so.
Oh, thanks for bringing that up. Yep, no,
Joe,
we're,
you happen to, is there an estimate? I realize there's a little bit of work that needs to be done to 283 and Daphne could use it like immediately. So not to put a rush on things, but I just wondering if there was any kind of idea of a timeline for the work that needs to be done on that before it is auction ready.
it probably needs a couple, 3 weeks of work. And that's okay because we don't have the title for it. So we went on a title search thinking Caltrans had it, which they used to, as lien holder on most of our buses, they supposed to have them.
Mm-hmm.
But then I've been told they don't. So the process then is they're gonna, because they screwed up in this case, it looks like Caltrans is gonna apply for the replacement title, but I don't know how fast it'll work. So it could be a source of delay, hopefully not too long. But as soon as we get the title, then we can convey, you know, assuming we've done the bidding and the bids, you know, she submitted the winning bid, we can get that done as soon as the title comes in. So,
Okay. Sounds like
Probably a
anywhere
month, I'm
between 2
guessing.
and 57 weeks or something.
Yeah, yeah, right, a month or two, right.
Was this previously discussed at a meeting? I don't know. What is Daphne
Uh,
doing with the bus?
She's using it along with her mobile showers
Okay.
to put clean clothes in, so the homeless that use the mobile showers can.
Also,
Use it.
vaccinations,
Oh.
I believe was
For the
part of,
homeless, for the
yes.
Was part of her
Yep.
discussion. I didn't realize.
Well,
that was
she
part of
had-
it, but-
I had suggested that she probably reach out to you.
And she did.
Okay,
Yep.
yeah, but she had kind of given me a rundown on that, and I know the things that she's doing are just really positive for the homeless and what's going on with them, and so I you know,
You want to support it, but-
Yeah, very much so.
absolutely,
Yeah.
absolutely.
Yeah, she
I
said,
just was curious if it was a previous item I just didn't know about.
Yeah.
I think it's great.
just coming up into the winter, she's like, just concerned that, you know, after the people use the mobile showers and come to get their clean set of clothes, they're gonna be all wet because it's gonna be raining.
Yeah.
So
Excellent.
that was part of what she discussed with me. So
Yeah.
so anyway,
We'll put a rush on it. It may be, the critical path delay could be how long it takes to get that title back out of Sacramento.
yeah,
But we can make sure that we got everything else
we'll do
T's
our part
crossed and I's dotted by then. Yeah.
Yeah, hopefully Caltrans will do theirs and it's a good thing. So,
Yeah.
okay, with no other announcements from anybody, we will adjourn this meeting until our next meeting, Monday, January 24th at 5:30.